Hi everyone and welcome back to The Sweet Spot. Today I am so thrilled to introduce you to Michelle Vogrinec. She's the owner of Gaia Skincare Products, which she launched in 2002, so she's quite a veteran in business. Gaia Natural Baby was created by Michelle when her son, not her daughter, Josh, was 8 weeks old and he developed eczema. So as a result of that, she went on a mission to find products that were going to help his help his skin, and she then invented the skincare range. So this company that she's developed and designed has a simple mission, and it's to provide a brand that people can trust, high quality, clean and green products. And so that we can use organic, safe products in our daily routine without it breaking our bank. And I love that as a philosophy, because the simpler we can make our skincare routine that we can trust and that's easy, the better. So welcome, Michelle. Thank you for being here.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So you have 4 children now, is that right, Michelle?
No, I have 3, but you can count my husband as the 4th if you like.
Beautiful. Let's. So what's the hardest thing for you about being a working mother when you also have an adult child?
Where do we start? No, the hardest thing is trying to make time for everything,
Yep.
and trying to fit in being a cook, a cleaner, a mother, a sex goddess, a wife, a friend, all these other things that are expected of you as a person that's just had children. You suddenly change and morph into this different person, and you're expected to combine all these things when you go into business, and how to do that effectively. So that's probably the most challenging part. It was how to work out how to fit it all in and still maintain my sanity.
Yeah. So you have been in Gaia for quite some time now. So you must know the ropes pretty well. How do you manage it?
This is my 14th year, give or take. How old's my middle child? That'll tell me. Yeah, he's turning 14, so that will be it. It's taken me a long time to sort of work through how to manage it. And I like the term organised chaos as being where my life is at. I wear 5 different hats all the time, so I just sort of swap them around when I want to do something different. But being able to recognise that I can't do it all, and some things, you've got to prioritise things, and it's okay to do that. And some people sort of tend to find that a little bit difficult to step back and say, I'm not Superwoman. I don't have to do it like this. And so it took me a little while to actually get into that space. And I actually got sick, and that's what told me that I had to take a step back and work out how best to manage my organised chaos and my children, and still be good at being a mum, still be effective in my role, and still be able to enjoy my life, which at that time I was getting stressed about and wasn't really enjoying what I was doing.
So you got sick after launching Gaia?
I did. I got sick about 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe about 8 years, 7 years after launching Gaia. I had a lot on my plate. We were growing at a rate we just couldn't keep up with. My husband had joined me in the business, and we were both frantically running to keep up with the everyday. We were reactive. Everything was reactive and not proactive. So we were trying to sort of work through it all. And I had another child in there at that particular point in time. And then I just kept getting sick, and I ended up with glandular fever.
Right.
3 times in a year. And that just wiped me out, and then ended up with an autoimmune disease and various other bits and pieces from there. So I was being forced to take time. So if I didn't take the time, I was really not going to cope.
And this was at a time when your business was growing exponentially anyway. So it was probably a time when this was the last thing you needed.
Absolutely. And I had to let go. If I did not let go, I was the one that was going to be let go. So it was a case of acknowledging. My best friend has an awesome saying. She says, if you want a salsa, you have to let the other person lead in the dance. You cannot lead in salsa. You have to let go and let your partner dance with you. And that made me go, oh, wow, actually, if you want to gain back control, you need to actually let go of it.
Wow.
just let it come back to you and realize that we're attaching ourselves to so many outcomes and so many things. We think it should be a certain way. We have a vision in our brain of what it should look like.
Yep.
And we tend to walk towards that vision without anything stopping us. And then it's not until you take a step back that you realise, oh, why am I marching towards there? I don't actually really need to go there. And so letting go really, really was an important step for me to being able to take back control and work out the best life balance that I could.
So when you say letting go, does that mean that you had to reassess like what your goals were and what your visions were for the company, or did you physically withdraw, or what does that mean for you?
I did a bit of both. My husband and I still sat back and had a look at where we wanted it to go and what we wanted to do, but also how we wanted to achieve it. And we both sort of said, we can't do this by ourselves. We weren't by ourselves, but we can't do it with the current structure that we have.
Yep.
We had to take on other staff and realising that they will do things different to you, and that is okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of like saying, I need help, but no, you have to help my way. I don't do the ironing like this because I like it that way. Okay, so do you want help or not?
Yeah.
And it has to fit within a boundary. And if you provide the right guidance and leadership, your staff should be able to work within the space that you have. So we both sort of let go a little bit in terms of what people were able to do. And surprisingly, it's amazing how people can give you ideas that you suddenly thought, oh, what did that happen? I didn't think this would happen. And you suddenly start to realise that how much you've been consumed in a space that you actually aren't able to see 2 feet in front of you, because all you can see is, what's here. So
right, exactly.
It's really good to do that.
Yeah, beautiful. What a beautiful journey. And so then, did you find your business then went to that next level because of the fact that you stepped back?
Yes, and it continued. It just keeps going, which is hard. It's very hard. But also being able to identify who I was. And this is something that I've spent the last 4 years, I think, working through, is who is it that I am and what is it that I need to actually cope in my organised chaos.
Yeah.
And really interesting journey that is. I sort of talk to people about, and everyone talks about positivity and, mindfulness. And I do practice mindfulness and stillness and those things. I find that they're really important to me. But what I did discover that I was an introverted person, and I actually would never have thought that. And so many people say to me, no. And I'm like, yeah. And looking at the classic definition of what an introvert is someone that requires space to actually recharge. They don't like being in groups. I hate being in groups of people. And those types of things that over the years, I was thinking to myself, I have to go to networking functions because that's what you do to be successful. Yep. I have to go and meander with people, which absolutely made anxiety for me so great that I was like, I can't do these things. And then realising, actually, I don't have to do these things.
Yeah, yeah.
Where that pressure coming from? It was coming from me, no one else. And then so starting to read up about who I was and actually who I wanted to be, instead of trying to be this person up here on a pedestal that, you can't look at the people you follow and go, I want to be like them, because they're a completely different person. So identifying who you are and actually starting to read more about who you are. And there's lots and lots of books and things on this side of things, rather than the standard business books that you read that you to do this.
Yes.
They're written majority for extroverted people.
Yes.
And realising that I was an introverted parent and I had 3 extroverted kids.
Oh, really?
And my husband's actually, I've got 2 introverted kids, a husband who's extroverted, and 2 extroverted children. So realising, how do I manage that? And actually looking into that was huge for me. Realising, guys, I need my space now to recharge. So and talking them through that process and actually working through, these are the things that I need to recharge. Not because it's wonderful to go and sit and have a coffee in the bush where I live, but because that's what I need to actually do what I do every single day and cope with it. And it's okay to do that. And I was surprised. I surprised myself. I never thought that I was the person who I am. Does that make sense? So
yeah.
I was surprised at who I was. And that made life so much easier to manage.
Yes. And when you honour and acknowledge and actually work with your best traits, really, rather than, as you say, you know, doing what the business coach says, which is going out and networking. Oh, I think most of us would prefer to stick needles in our eyes.
Yep.
I do. I would. That's for sure. So how did you, how was that healing process? What sorts of things did you do? And I mean, obviously you went and had, you know, found, you know, time and space to go and heal, but what other things did you do?
Well, I actually got a psych. So I worked with a psych on this and worked through just various things that were causing stress. And working with your husband and wife team is not easy. So both of us realising we were both at peak stress levels and how to actually bring that down and make it manageable again. I sort of looked at things like living without judgment. I've got notes in front of me here. So living without judgment, we tend to judge people. We tend to go, look at they've got or what they do. And maybe we make comments we're not aware of. And so working through those things and letting go of the judgment and going, oh, okay, they're doing something, oh, it's different to me. That's all it is. And how to look at the expectation I had on myself. So I worked through that with a psychologist. What is it that you expect and whose expectation is it? Is it someone else's or is it actually your own that you don't actually realise that you have?
Yeah.
And realising, oh, it's me that's actually putting this pressure on, not everyone else.
Yeah.
Amazing how people will say to you, oh, thank goodness you've worked this out. And it's like, huh? Like, oh, well, we're wondering when you were going to come back.
What everyone else, and that's probably true, isn't it? Everybody sees what we don't see ourselves.
I also... You've got to work out what success is for you. And for me, success is being able to take time to recharge, to spend quality time with my children after school. So being able to be there for them when they get home from school, work through homework, go for a walk if we want, not being limited to, oh, sorry guys, I've got to do work right now because I'm working from home. It's their space, their time, working out what else my husband and I needed to regenerate, recharge, to keep our relationship strong, working out business hours, personal hours, and they do cross over. And just because they're unconventional doesn't make it wrong. So realising that you don't have to do things because convention says you should. And so I leave here at 3 o'clock and I'm home for my boys when they get home from school. And then I pick up the computer again at about 10 o'clock, do a couple of hours, and then I'm actually go into a bit of a mindful meditation before bed. So, and whilst they say don't do computer work before you go to bed, for me, having this routine works best. So being able to work out that sometimes people will say this is bad for you or do it a different way is not necessarily the right way for you. So my and just books, I've found a whole world out there of introverted leadership and how to do this and acknowledge. And I remember Jacob came home one day and said, my kids at school are picking on me. They're calling me a weirdo because I like crystals. And I'm like, that's okay. To see magic, Jay, you have to believe in it. And he's like, oh, okay. And I said, so go back to them and say, embrace your weirdo, guys, because that's what makes me who I am. So, and they came back and actually really responded to him. He said, Mum, they like that. They actually liked that. So embracing who you are, and people have often been told you're out of the box, you don't fit a box, like, no, never have. But instead of seeing that as a challenge and going, oh, I'm a bit different to most, embrace it. That's who I am and that's why I do such the things that I do.
That's great.
Find more information, find friends, tell them, this is what I've discovered, what do you reckon? And talk through it. You'd be surprised how your friends suddenly start realising, hey, Shell, we're going to have a party, there's going to be 100 people there, you're going to be able to cope? Oh, thanks for the heads up. It gave me the ability to plan. It gave me the ability to say, I've got this much energy that I have today and I'm going to spend this much of it at a party. No, I'm going to need tomorrow to rest. So it gave me the ability to plan my time accordingly and decide where I placed my energy and when I had recovery time. So those understanding who you are is really, really important.
That is so fantastic. I love the fact that you've always honoured, getting home and doing the after school thing with your kids. And
I will never sacrifice that.
Yeah, it can be very, when there's so much to do.
Yeah.
Where do we put our time? But I love that you just go 3 o'clock, that's my rule, I'm off I'm off home.
Yeah.
And then pick it up again in the evening.
Yeah.
It's also, I really hear the wisdom in knowing that a party will exhaust you, and so you need that time afterward. I think that's also a place where we don't acknowledge, exactly our true natures, and then honour, what's needed so that we can recharge. I'm an introvert too, Michelle, and so I really hear what you're saying. So tell us a little bit more about Gaia itself. You obviously developed the skincare range, but just tell us about that world, because I love the products. I use them on my babies too.
That's nice to hear. I hope they've got beautiful skin. Skin is an amazing thing. People just see it as skin, and when you become a new mum and you get handed this tiny little baby and you're like, where's the instruction manual? Oh, crap, they didn't give me one.
And you're also like, I don't want to muck it up.
I don't want to muck it up. You know what? You're going to muck it up, except that you're going to muck it up, and that's okay. They'll work it out, and you'll work it out. But having a child that came all of a sudden getting itchy and all these little problems that were occurring with him, and me sitting there going, I can't solve this. Why can't I solve this problem? It was really difficult when you're a first-time mum. I'm a fairly driven person. I'm very, very driven. I really am a goal-setting person, and I'm fast-paced and really my brain thinks a million miles an hour. But not being able to solve this little tiny person's problem that was put into my hands 24/7 for the next 25 years beyond was devastating. And so I sort of worked out, why is this happening, and how to look at all that. So we worked through this process, and we ended up commercialising a product that other people had said, oh, I've got problems too, or my sister's got eczema, her child's got eczema. Everyone had eczema somewhere. So
right.
Yeah, it was an interesting journey, and realising that the cosmetic industry was largely ungoverned, that there wasn't a lot of rules about sensitivities and how they affect people. So we had a look at what the skin needed to be healthy, what things would actually trigger flare-ups, and they might be okay for the average Joe's skin, but not for the sensitive people's. So we put together this range that was available for sensitivity and everyone else. So, and naturally derived and using organic content wherever you can is very hard to do. We've tried to keep it that way. It's getting more difficult as we get bigger because there's more demand. We need more product. It is getting harder, not easier. But we sort of still maintain that philosophy. We don't have an adult shampoo. We have a men's shampoo, but they have short hair. That's different. But why? Because how on earth we maintain our gloriously shiny locks with natural products is a physical impossibility. And if you've ever used these natural products and go, my hair's fuzzy, and you've got lovely curly hair, your hair would probably go quite out there with a natural product. We don't launch products unless they can perform as well as a conventional product.
Yeah.
You don't have this, or you don't have a sunscreen. It's like, no, sunscreens are really difficult to do naturally for sensitive skin. You've got to remember they are a barrier between your skin and the sun, so they have to be thick. And the whole cosmetic industry is trying to turn, these functional products into cosmetic, make you feel wonderful and glorious, and it's just not possible a lot of the time. But you think about it, if your skin feels bad, or you've got a blemish or whatever else, how do you feel?
I feel like stuff's not quite right.
Well, I feel like crap when my skin feels like crap. So
it's not right.
Big part of making you feel good about yourself as well. So it's being able to provide you with product that you can use on your baby to start with, but we also have women's skincare so that you can quickly, easily look after your skin, feel nice about yourself. You feel nice about yourself, you're better at parenting, you're better at life if you feel good about yourself. So being able to help people feel good about themselves while taking care of their skin. They just think skin is kind of there. It's not really something you need to spend a lot of time on. So we want to make people feel good about themselves and feel, I like that in general. I like to help people feel good about themselves, and this is another way in which we can extend that out across baby and men. Men seem to think they should live with shaving rash, but they don't have. Weird. Bizarre. So that's pretty much who we are and what we do, and we've done it for a long time now, and we're still continuing to do it.
That's That is so great, and it's so needed. And, you know, back when you started, I know
Yeah.
organic things are so easy to come by these days, you know, but back when you started, it was not around.
If it was twice the price. So, and for us, it was important to say, let's have everybody access good skincare so they feel great, rather than making it available for those that could afford it.
Yes, and like it's a specialty product rather than something that everybody can have.
And that doesn't make sense to me. You've just had a baby, you've gone down to one income.
Yeah.
Therefore, you should pay twice as much.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a weird one, that one.
Yeah, a lot of things when it comes to having babies is little bit weird. And even, you know, women, like, you know, in Australia, you know, tampons and whatnot are taxed. It's outrageous. That's just my thought. It's outrageous.
I don't use them. I use a cup. Can I tell you, I use a cup and I love it.
I do too, Michelle. I do too, but I know that it's not for every woman, you know, and it's not for every girl, and I don't advocate the use of them necessarily. However, the fact that they're taxed, I think is shit.
Yes, you're right.
And there are other options, and my daughter's not quite there yet, and I have been thinking, what will I do with her?
Yes. Well, I don't have girls, you see, so I only have boys to think about. So that sort of things is not as much of an issue for me to worry about as it is for you.
Yeah. I mean, the cloth pads and whatnot, I think are terrific. But then I wonder, you know, how is it for a girl at school when they're just beginning? Being a woman, mate, there's so much.
My friend wrote a book called Poppy Pretzel, and it's about transition from being a girl, getting her first period and all those types of things. And it was written for girls about how to actually embrace this time rather than being scared about it. What does it mean? It's a fantastic book. So you should go and look it up. It's really good.
Yeah, I will. I'll go and have a look for it. That sounds like a wonderful thing.
It was good to read. I read it going, oh, yeah, I remember feeling like that, and I remember thinking that, and it's really good.
Yeah. Well, I will, because it's nearly her time, and I have been thinking about what to do, you know, what to do in relation to this next step that we're going into. I think actually I need another expert to discuss this. That would be great.
Yeah. It's a big topic.
Yeah. So, what advice would you have for our viewers on this day? What's your advice for us all, Michelle?
Work out what success is for you. Is it being able to go home at night and be with your children after school? Is it building a massive business? Our business wasn't supposed to be as big as it was. It was supposed to be my little part-time thing around my kids. It never stayed that way. A lot of questions we get asked is, how do we make this happen? You have to stop and you have to actually work out what it is that's important to you. And, you know, everyone has 24 hours in a day. And I really do believe this, that people are, I'm too busy. Like, no, that's you saying you don't want to. And acknowledging the truths that are there. I mentioned before a book by Byron Katie called Loving What Is, and having a look at the circumstances for what they are and going, am I making a story here, or is this really what it is? Having a look at attachment. What are we attached to? We're attached to these outcomes. It's got to be like this, and letting go and just actually embracing who you are, work with who you are, not what everybody else wants you to be. Prioritize. You might say, I need space to breathe. My son's doing VCE this year. He's in year 11. And his teacher has got this chart, and it's filled with like by half hour lots. And I've looked at this and gone, wow, that's really, really full on. And he's like, yeah, but what it does is show you that you have 24 hours in a day and you have 50 hours worth of things to get done. If you had to allot them in those and allocate them in those blocks, could you do it? Probably not. So then you have to start to realize, okay, what do I have to let go of and what do I need to keep? What is it then that I can do to make me better at what I do? How then can I embrace and it's amazing when you go through this journey of self-discovery, what's important to you and actually what's not, how other people can do things and sometimes way better than you can. don't sacrifice your quality time nor your reward for you. Look what you've achieved, acknowledge it, reward yourself. Next, move on to the next task. Review and revise. If it's not working, change it. If it's working, great, sensational. Now, next task, let's review and revise that. I've just come back from Coolangatta, and on the plane, I read this book about useful beliefs. I'm like, what's this about? And it says, well, positivity is great if you're positive, but if you're in a, sorry, I'll just do that. If you're in a negative mind space and you're really overwhelmed, you don't want to hear someone go, be positive, Michelle, and you're kind of like, yeah, not. And it's about useful beliefs. What would be useful right now? Everything is overwhelming me. What would be useful to do right now? And actually taking that step back, learning to juggle. I'm a very good juggler. Learning to juggle, learning to roll with change. Stuff happens. Kids break their arms. Kids need you at school. You know, things happen. You have to be adaptable. If you're not adaptable, then this is probably not the ride for you. You need to work out, and that's okay. If it's not the ride for you, that's fine. Put people in that can do that for you, or strive to achieve that. Don't try and take it all on. Write yourself little reminders. My whole office is full of little sticky notes and all these affirmations that say, well, the one I'm staring at right now says acceptance. You know, accept something for what it is and not make it something else. And then just it enables you to work through a bit more. What motivates you? What motivates you to keep going and those type of things. And just learn to live in the chaos. It's okay to accept what is. It might be a little mental. It might be a little out there, in case for me it is. But embrace that. Work with it. And you'll find it's a lot easier to do. And just change the way you look at the world. Stop judging people. Let go of expectations. Do what you do with love, whether you make a cup of tea and appreciate your stuff. They're the backbone of who you are. So really appreciate them. I don't know if that's enough to help, but they're the things that I do to keep me sane in a very chaotic world.
It's beautiful.
They're things that help. So
that is wonderful advice. Thank you, Michelle. And thank you so much for your time today. I think we've all gotten so much out of it, and we all have a couple of books to go and read now as well.
Yes, and there's another one that my friend wrote called Levi Sprocket, What's in Your Pocket. That one's a little bit more reflective of my voice. So that's
okay. All right. Well, we can jot that one down.
There's a lot of things that you can read, finding out who you are and working within that space. So,
yeah, terrific. Well, we've got some information down below on the screen as to how you can also access Gaia skincare products. And thank you so much today for being with us, Michelle. It's been wonderful to talk to you and, you know, learn a little bit more about organised chaos, and, you know, that it can be our belief systems that have us actually stay in the, you know, upset somewhat that we are and can feel.
Be kind to yourself.
Oh, absolutely. Be kind.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Well, thanks so much for the opportunity. It's been really great. I really love encouraging people to be the best that they can be.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Bye for now.